Welcome back to Curious Mind. Today we will talk about death and the meaning of mortality, whether you should be afraid of death or accept it. Death is one of the most fundamental and universal aspects of the human experience. It is an inevitability that we all must face, and yet, it is something that many of us fear. But should we be afraid of death? Is it something to be feared, or is it something that we should accept and embrace? In this video, we'll explore the different ways people have thought about death throughout history and ask whether we should be afraid of death. Many ancient cultures believed that death was a natural part of the cycle of life. They saw it as a transition from one state of being to another. For example, the ancient Egyptians believed that the soul was immortal and that death was merely a physical transformation. They prepared elaborate tombs and rituals to ensure that the soul could make this transition comfortably. The Greeks, on the other hand, saw death as a release from the burdens of the body and the material world, and they believed that the soul would go on to an afterlife. But in modern times, many people see death as something to be feared. We fear the unknown, and death is the ultimate unknown. It is a complete and irreversible loss of consciousness, and many of us find this prospect terrifying. However, some philosophers argue that we should not be afraid of death. They say that death is a natural part of life and that we should accept it as such. For example, the philosopher Epicurus argued that death is not something to be feared because it is simply the end of sensation. Once we are dead, we will not be able to feel anything, including fear. Similarly, the philosopher Seneca argued that we should not fear death because it is not an evil, but rather a natural and necessary part of the cycle of life. Others argue that we should embrace death because it gives meaning to our lives. The fact that we will one day die forces us to live in the present and make the most of our time on earth. It gives us a sense of urgency and purpose. The philosopher Martin Heidegger famously argued that our awareness of our mortality is what gives our lives meaning and makes them truly authentic. Of course, there is no right or wrong answer to the question of whether we should be afraid of death. It is a deeply personal and subjective issue that each of us must confront in our own way. Our culture, religion, and personal experiences all shape our attitudes towards death. However, by exploring the different ways people have thought about death throughout history, we can gain a deeper understanding of what it means to be mortal and how we might approach the end of our lives. So, should we be afraid of death? That's a question only you can answer. But whatever your answer may be, remember that death is a part of life, and it is up to us to make the most of the time we have. Whether we see death as a natural transition, a frightening unknown, or a meaningful part of life, it is ultimately our attitude towards death that determines how we live our lives. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more great content like this, and we'll see you in the next video.